mounting tensions in the West Philippine Sea. Right, we'll start off with this video where we will see without any measure of a doubt that the Chinese Coast Guard really does dangerous maneuvers that would court uh, damage and, in a worst case scenario, might provoke uh, uh, a more heated response from the protagonists. Let's take a look first at this.
ERP Sierra Madre, a makeshift naval outpost on the Indian Shoal. Maritime security expert Ray Powell says 2 Chinese militia ships passed within the meters of the Philippine vessels. Powell earlier said at least 3 Chinese vessels were in the area, with some 12 Chinese militia ships poised to enforce a blockade. It's unclear whether the Philippine Coast Guard completed its resupply mission. Philippine Senator Small tapping the police's maritime command as additional forces in the West Philippine Sea. Senator Francis Tolentino says there is a need for the PNP Maritime Unit to step up amid increasing tensions with China. He adds the command must be given a budget increase as it seeks 224 million pesos next year. Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri also backing Tolentino's proposal.
Can collate also the needs of the Philippine Maritime Force. Kasi sila din ang nagpapatrol sa inland coastal, inner coastal waters. So, yung mga within the 5-kilometer zone, 5 to 10 kilometer zone within the provinces, within the Philippine Sea and the archipelago, sila po ang nagbabantay. So, kailangan din natin po silang dagdagan ng mga assets.
There you are. You saw a China vessel courted disaster, and you might say visually, obviously, that it was doing some maneuvers deliberately. What? Maybe to irk, if not to hurt. But sometimes you are not always in control of the vessel, right? And so there are mishaps, and mishaps lead to something even not pleasant. All right, now we'll go to another video here. Excuse me. Mhm. Where is that? Here it is. All right.
You know the verdict. The Hague Tribunal ruled against China. Is this going to change anything? Will this ruling change the situation and get Chinese interests out of the South China Sea?
Well, I would like to perhaps approach the question in the way of looking at how other states have had those sort of experience where jurisdiction is challenged. As we know, this is one of the main concerns in the Chinese angle in terms of this arbitration. Look at, for example, the Nicaragua and the USA case, whereby USA challenged jurisdiction and they didn't participate in the award and ultimately didn't comply with the award. But nonetheless, the USA and the Nicaragua both get back into the negotiating table and started to look at ways in which both parties interests are dealt with. Similarly, in the UK and Mauritius case, which was just rendered last year, a similar thing happened. The award was rendered against the UK. UK challenged jurisdiction, but nonetheless, they are now going back into the negotiating table and trying to negotiate ways that will no doubt address the interests of both parties. So I think it will help in a way to look at it in the angle of looking forward. For instance, if both China and Philippines are to go back to the negotiating table, irrespective of the award, noting, of course, the Philippines have stated that they do wish to participate in negotiation, and China's position has always been that they want to go back into bilateral friendly consultation. So if they do go back to the negotiating table, I think it will at least have a strong possibility of creating a win-win situation for both states. It will also bring about regional peace, and it will certainly de-escalate the tense situation in South China Sea. And actually, it might actually present a good precedent for other countries in the South China Sea to embark back into the declaration of conduct method of resolving disputes, and therefore, in that sense, it will create a good change to the overall situation.
Now, a very interesting view there, that looking at similar legal cases in the past, looking at legal history, you're optimistic that this will help bring out a diplomatic resolution to the crisis in the South China Sea, a major geopolitical flashpoint. And it's not just an issue between the Philippines and China, it's an issue in the South China Sea between China and 6 nations, 6 governments. Do you feel that this ruling will also inspire those countries in dispute with China to enter talks with each other about the disputed territory in this area?
So you see here, the interviewer, the host, um, mentioned the fact that China is actually not only facing the Philippines in the South China Sea claims, but also 6 other nations. She did not mention those nations, but you might know those nations, right? So it's kind of hodgepodge of disputes and claims. But let me put it this way first before we go any further. Number one, it is wrong for writers to say that the Philippines is making a claim or claims in the West Philippine Sea. That is not quite accurate. To correct the situation, let me put it this way: the Philippines is not making claims in the South China Sea, but instead the Philippines is asserting, declaring, and proclaiming to the world and to the community of nations, as well as to China, of course, that uh, all the territories, the uh, continental shelves, the islands, islets, the coves, the waters, the maritime lane, uh, the airspace above it, okay, and the water down deep in that area. All of those are actually under the jurisdiction of the Philippines in view of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas, which provides a certain exclusive economic zone in which the coastal state exercises jurisdiction, prerogative, and certainly legal control. You got it? We are not claiming, we are asserting, proclaiming, and announcing, declaring that those areas are ours. Now, it is not our ambition to even get an inch of what belongs to others. That's not our ambition. The Philippines has always been a Pacific, peace loving country. It's not our foreign policy to be at odds with other nations. The statement of our foreign policy is that we are friend to all and enemy to none. That is a brief statement of our foreign policy, and we're standing on that. Come visit the Philippines and you will see for yourself, right? We don't enjoy arguments and conflicts and debates and things like that with other nations of the world. No, we want to make friends with other nations of the world, even China. The thing is, China often accuses the Philippines that the Philippines is stoking the fire of conflict in the West Philippine Sea. That the Philippines is making um, provocations, which is not correct. As you can see from the video that we showed, the deliberate, um, dangerous maneuver of the China Coast Guard vessel, and it was really dangerous, right? And that could have been avoided easily. And uh, obviously, there was some kind of a mischievous intent in that ploy, right? If you want, look at it again and look at the other videos on YouTube about that incident and other incidents. Yes, and in fact, other videos would show something like over 200, even as many as 300 militia vessels of China entering into the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. And well, what we know is that they do gather fish, they do fishing, yes. But also it looks like so I'm not saying for a fact that I know, I'm not saying that, but it looks like, because of the massive activity of the China militia vessels in that area or in those areas, the corals have been destroyed and damaged to the chagrin of environmentalists. Yes. So let's put the record straight. The Philippines, number one, does not provoke any conflict, nor does it stoke the fire of conflict. Number two, it is not merely claiming whatever islets or shoals are mentioned there, but as far as the Philippines economics exclusive economic zone is concerned, we are asserting jurisdiction, legal rights, and judicial control, even actual control over those territories. You got it? Okay, now we'll continue this. This is interesting.
I guess looking at how, as I said, other states have embarked upon situations where they challenged the jurisdiction of the tribunal in the two cases I've mentioned, by opening the door of negotiation, it will actually inspire, I think, other states to also look at that. And bearing in mind, as I said, back in 2002, ASEAN and China has already entered into a declaration of conduct, emphasizing the parties are to undertake to enter into bilateral negotiations, friendly consultation with each other to resolve those disputes. So
On the matter of bilateral negotiations, that's okay if it is between the Philippines and, let's say, Vietnam, or between the Philippines and Indonesia, or between Indonesia and Thailand or something like that. But when it comes to Philippines versus China, you gotta be kidding. China ignored entirely the final sentence of the Hague Arbitral International Court that ruled on a final sentence that China has no legal rights nor historical foundation with regard to its claims in the South China Sea. Period. China ignored that completely as if it did not exist, as if it did not happen, right? Which means that China does not recognize international law nor even ignores the existence of a community of nations, which observes rules of conduct. And China, therefore, has, in the eyes of many nations in the world, appeared to be a rogue, some kind of a somebody who's like a spoiled brat, who who just who wants to do what it wants to do. Okay, but that's not the way a nation should behave. There should be rules of conduct and behavior, just like individual citizens in a community, in a province, state, or country. There should be rules of behavior. Correct? Correct. No. Uh, okay. Uh huh. Oh, here. Okay. And now take a look at this UNCLOS Article Part 5 of the preamble of the UNCLOS, which mentions the exclusive economic zone. Okay, let's read it. Article 55, specific legal regime of the exclusive economic zone. The exclusive economic zone is an area beyond and adjacent to the territorial sea, subject to the specific legal regime established in this part, under which the rights and jurisdiction of the coastal states and the rights and freedoms of other states are governed by the relevant provisions of this convention. Article 56, rights, jurisdiction, and duties of the coastal state in the exclusive economic zone. Number one, in the exclusive economic zone, the coastal state has, colon, letter A, sovereign rights for the purpose of exploring and exploiting, conserving and managing the natural resources, whether living or non-living, of the waters superjacent to the seabed and of the seabed and its subsoil, and with regard to other activities for the economic exploitation and exploration of the zone, such as the production of energy from the water, currents, and winds. B. Excuse me. This deserves a sip. Jurisdiction is provided for in the relevant provisions of this convention with regard to uh, I. 1. The establishment and use of artificial islands, installations, and structures. 2. Marine scientific research. 3. The protection and preservation of the marine environment. Letter C. Other rights and duties provided for in this convention. Number 2. In exercising its rights and performing duties under this convention, in the exclusive economic zone, the coastal state shall have due regard to the rights and duties of other states, and shall act in a manner compatible with the provisions of this convention. There, you got it. The exclusive will jump a bit. The exclusive economic zone shall not extend beyond 200 nautical miles from the, remember this, the baselines from which the breadth of the territorial sea is measured. It's clear the Philippines is uh, behaving and acting completely within the framework of the provisions of the UNCLOS. But China isn't. China is aggressively making incursions, causing to make the temperature in the area rise to a degree that is no longer comfortable. Yes? Okay. So that, having said that, uh, I really appreciate President Bongbong Marcos's foreign policy and the fact that he has been driven with energy and enthusiasm and determination to get things done. Already, he has been able to effectuate the activation of the EDCA to a higher level of cooperation, collaboration, and support, such that the United States now is using several areas. I think there are already 5 or 7 areas in the Philippines which are established as as far as that uh, agreement is concerned, bases of the United States, purposely to uh, prevent any foreign power to have uh, a monopoly, monopolistic control of the South China Sea, because it and has always been a free lane for such a robust uh, international trade and shipping uh, activity. Right now, the Americans also have brought in to the Philippines military transport, ammunition, uh, missiles, uh, anti-missile missiles, defense system. Uh, they have also donated, if I recall correctly, uh, advanced, uh, high quality military helicopters. And also, the Philippines has upgraded its inventory of uh, modern jet planes, also naval vessels, Coast Guard vessels. Uh, what else? Um Also, storage of military material and weaponry, as well as what else? Detection system and all other things that are supposed to be included in that package. So you got it straight. The Philippines is no longer where Marcos saw it when he sat on the presidency on the first day. No, it has it has grown like a child. It has grown into manhood, and now we can say that it has a semblance. Excuse me. It has a semblance of a credible defense uh, capability, and also the ability to counter attack if necessary. And already, Marcos also has been able to harness the cooperation, the willingness of other nations to collaborate with the Philippines and to partner with the Philippines in the defense of the South China Sea, right? And friendly nations such as Canada, Australia, Japan, South Korea, okay, Germany, Australia, what else? United Kingdom, Sweden, France, uh, and other NATO countries. NATO has already issued statements that warned that NATO would not hesitate to get into the arena of conflict in the event that China would invade the Philippines or any of the uh, islands or territories in the exclusive economic zone of the Philippines. Yes, even India has already pledged support. So you can see that there is now a multilateral circle of defense and a message to the world, and especially with regard to China, that it would be foolhardy for China to get involved in a war with the Philippines, because it's not only with the Philippines that the conflict will occur, but it will also ignite the fury of the other nations I have mentioned. Yes, correct. So, therefore, now that stabilizes the situation in a sort of way. Why? Because China hesitates, and I think China is thinking up to 100 times before even launching anything that would invite a counterattack from the Philippines and the Philippines' allies. And that would be wise. Remember, I guess it was Sun Tzu, the great Chinese general, who said, uh, uh, the way to win a war is not to get into it. That's wisdom. Sun Tzu in The Art of War. See, the way to win a war is not to get into it. Wisdom. Xi Jinping, if you're listening, listen to that. Yeah, get some wisdom. Don't just, use your head. Use your head. Okay? And the Chinese people also better use your head and do not just be dragged into a conflict which you don't like, because uh, if you can say we're stronger than this or than that country, well, you can also get hurt because the war can get into the mainland. Yes. So you see, use your head. Use your head. And think about it. If you want to replace Xi Jinping, go ahead. If you can do that, you are 1 billion plus people. Why should you submit yourself to just one man and to a few cohorts? Right? Well, that's not my idea. That's the idea of certain observers. Remember, that's not my idea. That's the idea of political analysts. See? All right. Now, therefore, uh, we conclude this part of our blog today. And uh, if you find it uh, acceptable, you have the time, do click subscribe, like, and share. And do be with me again when I come back on the next episode of MANNY LUMBA TV Live. Same time, same channel. Goodbye, and God bless you. Wisdom is the key to living. God bless you.